health concerns. Leon Sienga tells us more.
It's been a long wait for Jacqueline Nachibengo to reach this day. She was scheduled to officially introduce her fiancé in April, but the COVID-19 pandemic put a stop to her plans. 5 months later, the event is going ahead.
I was worried they would put another lockdown because the rumors were high. But God has done this for me. I am happy I have done this. It is a great day for me.
Traditional pre-wedding ceremonies are big celebrations in Uganda. But in March, President Yoweri Museveni suspended gatherings in an attempt to prevent the spread of coronavirus. Limitations still in place mean Jacqueline can only have a handful of guests. There's usually great camaraderie around such events. People interacting, loud music, dancing. The party can sometimes go late into the night. But the coronavirus restrictions have taken a lot of the excitement out of the air. Like you can see behind me, this Meet the Parents ceremony is a much quieter, subdued affair. Wedding MC Jimmy Mutiaba, however, sees some positives.
We had derailed from the purpose of these events. They had become more of entertainment shows than wedding ceremonies. But we are getting back to what our culture demands, a simple family occasion with few people.
Organizing such events in line with the health guidelines is still the biggest demand on many couples.
We have had the time to sanitize the minds, and we, I hope, shall manage the next stage, the reopening and the phases that will follow, so that not only the confidence, but actually the health is maintained.
For Jacqueline, she takes pride in having had a successful ceremony, even if it wasn't exactly the wedding she dreamt of. Leon Sanyange, CGTN, Nkumba, Central Uganda.
And billionaire tech entrepreneur Elon Musk is at it again, unveiling the latest work from yet another groundbreaking project. This one is called Neuralink, and it takes on one of the most complex systems known, the human brain. Mark New with more.
He built the world's most successful electric car company, Tesla.
Liftoff.
And the company SpaceX, which just launched astronauts into orbit. Now, Elon Musk is embarking on another equally challenging mission, hacking the human brain.
I think it's going to blow your mind.
Musk's new venture, Neuralink, will implant this device into a patient's skull.
It's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires.
Neuralink aims to make the procedure automated, with this robot cutting an incision in the skull and inserting the device. The robot has already done surgeries on pigs like Gertrude, who's had the chip for 2 months.
The beeps you're hearing are real-time signals from the Neuralink in Gertrude's head. So this Neuralink connects to neurons that are in her snout. So whenever she snuffles around and touches something with her snout, that sends out neural spikes.
By putting a pig on a treadmill, Neuralink showed how the brain chip was able to predict the pig's joint movements, which look, compared to the actual movements, almost exactly the same. Musk says they're working with the FDA to move toward clinical trials with humans. The #1 target is spinal cord injury.
If you can sense what somebody's trying to do with their limbs, what they want to do with their limbs, then you can actually do a second implant that's at the base of the spine or wherever, just after wherever the spinal injury occurred, and you can create a neural shunt. So I'm confident that long-term, it will be possible to restore somebody's full body motion. So if somebody even has a severed spine, they will be able to walk again.
Somebody that's got mental degradation, quadriplegic, bipolar, insanity problems, I mean, things that their life is so miserable it is worth taking a risk like this to end the misery. That's the target audience for this initially. It may eventually evolve into something that we might all have for computer interfaces, but we're decades off from that.
Musk answered questions about moving even deeper into the brain and predicted the technology could lead to someday replaying memories.
Everything that's encoded in memory, you could upload. You could basically store your memories as a backup and restore the memories. And ultimately, you could potentially download them into a new body or into a robot body The future is going to be weird.
Musk says Neuralink will probably be quite expensive when it's first launched, but he expects the price to drop rapidly over time. He says eventually it'll be down to just a few $1,000s, including the surgery. And he compares it to a LASIK eye procedure where you'll be able to go in, have the chip installed in your brain, and then head home the very same day. Mark News, CGTN, Sunnyvale, California.
Well, the news continues on Africa Live. Time now for a business segment. Over to you, Uche.
Thank you, Richard. And coming up on Africa Live Biz. A new twist on the TikTok sale in the U.S. as China tightens rules on exports of certain technologies. And Nigeria looks to mining as it seeks economic recovery after the coronavirus lockdown.
Africa is the nexus of enterprise, and global business will tell you why it matters.
From the mega investment projects to multi-billion-dollar mergers and acquisitions.
Africa today collects, just in terms of revenues from taxes alone, $545 billion a year. If you take 10% of that and you devote it to the energy sector, problem solved.
All this on Global Business, weekdays at this time on CGTN.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Well, let's start off with international news. U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington will shut down Chinese video sharing app TikTok unless its American operations are sold locally. Now, he adds that September 15th is the deadline for the sale to take place. On August 6th, Trump signed an executive order to ban American transactions with TikTok. He claimed the app threatened U.S. national security. He also said the order will take effect in about 45 days. Now, later, Trump did extend the deadline to about 90 days. Microsoft and Walmart are together bidding for the app's U.S. assets, competing with Oracle. Last week, China revised bans on technology exports to cover AI, the backbone of TikTok's operations. The move is expected to complicate TikTok's sale in America. Now, the company said it will strictly abide by China's new export rules. Well, still on China-U.S. trade relations, Washington has extended China tariff exclusions for a wide range of goods through the end of this year. That's instead of renewing the previous one-year extension. The exclusion covers items such as smart watches and other wearable data-transmitting devices, as well as certain medical masks and respirators. That's after tariffs on some $125 billion worth of goods were lowered from about 15 to 7.5% by the Phase 1 deal, which was signed back in January. Now, analysts say the decision of a 4-month extension may add to uncertainties for American importers. And heading back to the continent now, Nigeria aims to have 50 mines in operation by 2023. It hopes this can make up for time lost because of the impact of COVID-19 on development of the sector. Now, the Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamilekan Adegbite, says that the government hopes to grow mining to 3% of GDP within the next 5 years.
Africa's largest oil producer is banking on mining to diversify its income and revive its finances following a collapse in crude prices, which earlier this year hit 2-decade lows.
People are beginning to come to us. They're interested in coming down to Nigeria. And if not for the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, people have been coming in now actually to actualize their intentions.
Nigeria hopes mining will grow tenfold in 5 years through both processing as well as mining, which generates increased profits compared with shipping raw materials. In particular, Nigeria aims to process barite used in drilling of oil and gas and hopes to sell it to countries such as Ghana and South Africa, which need the mineral to exploit new oil discoveries.
Ghana discovered oil. South Africa just discovered all their shores. They will need barite in exploration. So we could also, because right now Morocco supplies the continent. I think we're closer to Ghana and also closer to South Africa in terms of geography. So I think we'll be able to compete with Morocco to supply those two countries.
In common with other African countries, Nigeria is also seeking to formalize artisanal mining, which could generate tax and royalties from gold. A problem for Nigeria is that its gold lies mostly in the northwest, where humanitarian organizations say it has helped to fuel violence attributed to armed groups.
We have illegal miners who are riding on the back of artisanal miners. These are foreigners who come into Nigeria and hide behind the artisanal miners. Our artisanal miners are recognized for who they are. They are people who are into their subsistence living. So we're not criminalizing them. Rather, we're trying to organize them into groups, into cooperatives, so that we can avail them with all the incentives.
Nigeria also expects more commercial gold miners to be attracted once Thor Exploration's gold mine in Nigeria's southwest starts producing. Its first gold is expected in the second quarter of 2021. Beryl Oro, CGTN.
Well, let's stay in Nigeria, where a new restaurant in the country's federal capital is offering nostalgic travelers who have been grounded by pandemic restrictions an in-flight dining experience on the ground. Well, CGTN's Mohammed Abubakar takes up the story of Urban Air, which is an airplane-themed restaurant that is trying to carve out a niche in the middle of an economic crisis.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
If you thought food served on the plane was one of the worst bits about flying, well, this restaurant in Nigeria might not be quite your taste.
Your regular restaurant, but it was built like an airplane. So we have airplane features and one or two beautiful things that just makes you feel as though you're in an aircraft. Especially during this period, this COVID period, where people haven't gotten to travel, so they could come here and feel as though they're in the air.
The interiors of Urban Air resemble that of an aircraft. The offer is an in-flight experience to those of us that are missing that air travel thrill amidst these unprecedented times of COVID-19. While at it, diners here indulge in their flight-themed cocktail menu beside windows illustrated with blue skies and puffy white clouds.
Customers have been extremely happy when they come here because they get a brand new experience. From time to time, we even announce on the PA system, just as the captains do. So I basically operate here as a captain of the aircraft.
Since its opening on August 15th, Urban Air has served roughly 100 adventure-hungry Nigerians each day. Though the food isn't necessarily straight off a 747, for some, Urban Air is the closest they can get to the skies anytime soon.
The environment is really amazing considering, this corona stuff. So it's been a while since we all got to see inside of an airplane. And this just reminds us of that, and the food is amazing.
It's actually good. It looks like a private jet here. Like I'm actually on a private jet. And even though some people really want to be there, so they can actually come here and be like, oh, you guys, I'm on a private jet and people actually believe because everything says it.
Nigeria suspended all international commercial flights in March, while international flights are set to resume on September 5th
skills to learn later on in life.
According to UNESCO, 264 million children worldwide do not have access to schooling, while at least 600 million more are in school but not learning. It's hoped that innovative edutainment solutions like Ubongo Kids could be the key to solving this puzzle. Daniel Kijo, CGTN, Dar es Salaam.
Well, that is all for now on Africa Live Biz, but coming up later on Global Business Africa, South Africa's Auditor General says that some of the $30 billion intended for COVID-19 relief may have been stolen or improperly allocated. Of course, we'll bring you more on that top of the hour. For now, it is back to you, Richard.
Thank you so much, Uche. The news continues on Africa Live. We'll see you on the other side of the break with a lot more stories. Don't go away.
The greatest journeys, the greatest sights, the greatest adventures.
Here in Panata, this weir allows the locals to walk on water.
We're far more than just TV news. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore. CGTN. See the difference.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back to Africa Live. On to our new series called the Jambo Studio. We focus on the effects of COVID-19 on the tourism sector in Kenya. Our CGTN crew has just returned from the Masai Mara, where the annual wildebeest migration is on. However, it is business unusual as tourism investors and locals try to make the best out of this unique event. This is a migration amid a contagion.
The Mara, a jewel of Kenya's tourism. It's a shared ecosystem with Tanzania's Serengeti National Park, whose wildlife is the pride of the East African region. So famous is the Mara Game Reserve that it attracts thousands of tourists from near and far. Its diverse wildlife, popular tourist attractions, and a welcoming local community make the Mara stand tall among its regional competitors. Apart from the big five, cheetahs, hyenas, servals, and bat-eared foxes are also found here. One of the Mara's most prized events is the annual wildebeest migration. It is a spectacle to behold. Around 1 million wildebeest and other migratory animals like zebra cross the Mara River from the Serengeti National Park into the Masai Mara Game Reserve. They come in search of pasture and to mate. But with predators circling the scene, it is a life and death exercise. There are crocodiles in the water, lions, cheetahs, and even hyenas lie in wait on land. It is a journey of challenges and dangers. It is Mother Nature at one of her finest and most exhilarating moments. So phenomenal is the migration that it draws thousands of foreign and local tourists, raking in millions of dollars every year for the sector. Now, many locals, directly or indirectly, are dependent on tourism. Some foreigners too are here as workers or investors. Regardless of who benefits or how, this is the annual season for a windfall. Once again, the season is here and the Mara is the place to be. However, this year's migration comes at a time when Kenya, like the rest of the world, is battling the COVID-19 pandemic, a migration amid a contagion. Kenya reported its first case of COVID-19 on the 15th of March. Almost immediately, the country went into a partial lockdown. Coronavirus cases are still on the rise, now surpassing 30,000. It's clear the economy has not been spared, with tourism, one of Kenya's biggest foreign exchange earners, taking the hardest hit. Flight bans and border closures were implemented across the world to curb the spread of the virus, forcing Kenya's tourist hotspots to shut down or drastically scale down operations. The effects have been devastating. So hard are the times that Kenya's Tourism Cabinet Secretary could only lament about it. In the past month, restrictions have been relaxed, flights have resumed and hotels have reopened. However, unlike previous years, there are noticeably fewer foreign tourists in the Mara. Hit by the dwindling number of foreign tourists from the traditional markets of China, Europe and the United States, Kenya is now looking inwards. It's turning to the local market. With special packages and reduced prices, the country is hoping to keep this vital sector afloat until the dark cloud of the coronavirus goes away. But for a local population that is already suffering the economic effects of COVID-19, how cheap is cheap? It's business unusual here at the Mara. Social distancing, hand washing, sanitizing, as well as the wearing of face masks are some of the measures being pushed by government, protocols that hotels must adhere to.
It just happened to be fortunate enough for us that COVID happened. Normally during this time, it's not very easy for us to get access to such places.
Pleasure to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Actually, before we came back, we had to follow the strict rules put by the Ministry of Health and the Kenyan government to combat the spread of the coronavirus. And we put measures, like when you checked in, you see that there was you wash your hands, you sanitize, we check your temperatures, and put on your masks.
Human-wildlife conflict is a thorny issue in these parts. The indigenous people of this land, the Maasai, are considered custodians of Kenya's wildlife. But when their livestock are attacked or their settlements destroyed by wild animals, the Maasai have fought back. Wild animals have been poisoned. This continues to be a source of tension between the local community, conservationists and the government.
Human-wildlife conflict is a big issue here in the Mara, and it's a bit high normally when it's raining. When we have long grass in the reserve and in the conservancies, then you will have playing games going out to the community areas. And they take along with them predators. Elephants also try to find their way to other areas outside the national reserve. And they come in contact with people.
If you're looking to understand what's changed in the Mara due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the answer is in the silence. The rumbling of flights arriving and departing, the consistent hum of off-road vehicles have all been replaced by the sounds of nature in their untouched glory.
Yeah, it's very interesting, although, well, I mean, people are affected in terms of, their livelihood. But in terms of nature and wildlife, I think they thrived because less disturbance. We have had cheetahs doing their hunts very well without so many cameras.
A blessing for some, certainly, but the silence is a cause of concern for the local community whose livelihoods revolve around the presence of foreign and local tourists. The silence is a reality check that is now sinking in.
Immediately after lockdown have just came in, with no international flight coming in. Mara had been a very, very terrible place to be. People are living like in a very terrible state. I mean, like they don't grow crops, so source of income was tourism, coming here and promoting them here.
As the sun sets in the Mara, only time can tell when it will rise again on global tourism. This is a sector that generates 9% of Africa's income, and with efforts to find a vaccine for the coronavirus in top gear, over 100 million jobs in the tourism and hospitality sector across the world are at risk.
And as we always mention, magical Kenya, and I'm in the majestic Mara, so guys, you're most welcome to come, visit us, enjoy. We say Tembea Kenya, and all the COVID protocols are in place.
As the cold occasioned by the coronavirus reigns globally, Kenyans and locally based foreigners are metaphorically chopping their own firewood just to keep warm. Many here are hoping for better days ahead. For hope is a good thing, and good things never die.
Well, we've got your sports news coming up after the break. Here's a peek at the headline. Olympic organizers hope for Prime Minister Abe's involvement in the preparations following his resignation.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back to Sport on Africa Live.